The following conversations are taken from our channel membership exclusive weekly live show that we do on Saturdays from 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time to 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time called Members Talk Live. Find out how you can become a member and appear on the show. All of the information is down in the description below, as well as all the links to the channels of today's guests. Check them out, and I hope to talk with you very soon.
When it comes to Madam Web and 50 Shades of Spider-Man, I am not interested in that whatsoever. I do not care. So whoever let the Sony executives cook need to bar them from the kitchen for life. Please.
We got Jonah, we got Michael, and we got newcomer Terrence from Have You Seen That With T? What's going on, man?
How's it going? Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here, dude. Have you been watching anything this January?
So I just went and saw ISS last night, and that was fantastic. Book of Clarence was pretty good too, but ISS is something special. I'm finishing up my review right now.
I actually just posted my review for that last night.
My wife and I are going back and rewatching Daredevil for like the 6th time, the Netflix Daredevil.
Oh, nice.
So we are high key right in the middle of that right now.
I've only seen Night Swim so far this month, so not a great month so far. But I'm watching the Ted series.
Yeah.
It's on Peacock for you guys in the States. For me in Canada, it's on Amazon Weekly. So they just dropped episode 2. So I've only seen the first episode, but it's really funny.
I heard it's great.
It's way funnier than I expected it to be. Like way funnier.
Yeah, I was honestly surprised because I love Seth MacFarlane, but lately, like I've watched those new Family Guy episodes. It's not really funny anymore, so I kind of felt like he was losing his comedic touch.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
Yep, he redeemed it.
No, I think the series has been way better than both of the movies because I watched both of the movies for the first time after watching the first episode of Ted because I just never got around to seeing them, but I liked the first episode so much I was like, I'm gonna watch these movies. They're fine. I didn't think they were like the funniest comedies ever. Like on the Blu-ray of the first one, it literally says one of the funniest movies of all time. I was like,
Nah,
that's a stretch.
It's not even my favorite buddy comedy movie.
Yeah, that's a reach.
Tommy Boy is.
Tommy Boy?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's a good one.
I respect that.
Because we just had Echo drop. And I personally was not looking forward to Echo at all until that trailer dropped. But I liked the show. Did you guys catch the show?
I'm 3 episodes in, and the 3rd episode, it's getting better. I wasn't a big fan of the first episode at all. The second one kind of picked up, and then the 3rd one is, I don't know. I got a few more to go, but it's hard to find time to catch those series.
Yeah,
I feel that.
Yeah.
I think episode 4 is really good. I think you'll like episode 4.
Yeah.
I think that was the best of the series.
Zach, you know my personal opinions, but like I feel like MCU TV shows as a whole, there's a real decrease in quality compared to the movie counterparts. And so I feel like I really was spending a lot of time the last couple of days rewatching my Echo review and thinking about where I stood. And I think I see Echo as more of a different than the status quo. And as long as it wasn't sucky, then it was good. So Echo by itself is not a great show. There's a lot of problems with it, a lot of inconsistencies, a lot of things that you could really nitpick till the cows come home. But when you compare it to a lot of the other MCU shows, it actually stands by itself a lot better. So I think that's where I'm at right now.
This is like the first example of the Marvel Spotlight banner.
Right.
So based off of this first example, would you say that it's working, Jonah?
It's a good start. If this is the groundwork for what's to come in the future and it only gets better from here, I'm totally on board. I still think there's a lot of things they need to work through. The TV MA rating, I think, was just window dressing. I think they really just kind of put it out there as a way to market it as like, hey, guys, look, we showed a little bit more blood in this than you see in other projects. But I feel like this is I'm not saying the future projects all need to be MA, but I feel like they could use this as a building block to make even better projects, maybe more of like the Netflix series, which we'll talk about later. More gritty, more realistic, maybe a couple more ground level heroes, a couple more ground level villains. Let's get Kingpin as the Thanos of the ground level heroes, like we saw on, what some of the reports are coming out to be. So I think it's a good start.
She-Hulk is one of those shows on Disney Plus that I think is probably the most controversial one as terms as the Marvel shows, because you have a lot of people that liked it, thought it was funny. You have people like me who didn't like the show very much at all. I liked aspects of it, but overall it just felt kind of flat for me. So a big question mark was what's going to happen with She-Hulk moving forward? Will we get a season 2? And we've kind of gotten a little answer to that from the star of the show herself, Tatiana Maslany, as she had this to say. She-Hulk attorney at law star Tatiana Maslany provided an update on the development of season 2. When questioned whether She-Hulk attorney at law season 2 could be hoped for, Maslany simply noted, "I don't think so." While Maslany wasn't given any official announcement, she suggested that budgetary reasons would make She-Hulk attorney at law season 2 undesirable. "I don't think so. I think we blew our budget," and Disney was like, "No, thanks." So we'll welcome Ken to the show. What's going on, Ken?
Hey,
What is
what's
up,
up, fellas?
Ken?
How's it going?
Hey,
Now, this, as it says in the article, is not an official announcement. This isn't coming from Disney. This isn't coming from Marvel, but this is a pretty reliable source. You'd think that she'd be a little bit in the loop. Now, actors don't know everything. Some actors don't know anything until they're given the shooting schedule. So we can't take this with full, with full truth. Maybe a little bit of a grain of salt, but I think a bigger grain of salt than normal. I will throw it to you first, Jonah. What do you think of these comments? Were you looking forward to season 2? Did you like season 1? Where do you stand with She-Hulk?
So She-Hulk, in my opinion, is the worst Disney Plus MCU show out there, only because the humor that they have in that show will work for certain groups of people. Like different fans and stuff will like different things. Me personally, it was a legal comedy that had neither comedy nor legal stuff, because all the legal stuff consisted of yeah-huh, nah-uh, yeah-huh, nah-uh. That just doesn't work for me. And
don't forget Megan the trainer.
Not this time. You're wrong.
Right. Well, she's part of the yeah-hahs, in the middle of that legal courtroom scene. But for me, it did not land. Any kind of thing they threw out there didn't work. I didn't laugh. I thought it was very, very mean-spirited. I thought, like you said, I saw the idea of it, but it just didn't land. My wife and I kind of trudged through. Nothing about it was interesting. And I did not foresee it getting a season 2. I never thought it was going to happen. Even when they kind of confirmed that season 2 is happening, I still was like, I'll believe it when I see it. And I think Tatiana Maslany is on the right track. I think she summarized it perfectly. They blew through their budget. They had nothing. They spent $200 million to get the first season off the ground, and you cannot convince me that they streamed it enough on Disney Plus to get that $200 million back. And that was right in the middle of the MCU just blowing through all of their TV budgets. And it just was the wrong place, wrong time. I really don't think it was received very well. And unless they completely revamped it and took it in a whole different direction in season 2, which it sounded like they were just going to be building off of the first one, I just think they saw all of the negatives and the profit margin starting to drop, and they're like, I don't think this is going to work. So I just think it makes sense.
Yeah, I should correct myself before the comments obliterate me. Megan Thee Stallion. I combined her with Megan Trainor. So
I didn't even notice that.
I was actually going to say that. In my opinion, I don't think so. I did not like it. I mean, I remember getting a lot of backlash on Facebook. People were like saying, well, it's like that because it's in the comics. And I'm like, man, not everything in the comics is gold. Okay. I didn't care for the She-Hulk comics when I read them back when I was a kid. And when the show came out, I'm like, okay, I watched it and was not a fan of it. Yeah, so I wasn't really excited for season 2. And I like Tatiana Maslany a lot. I think she was good as the character, but I don't think her herself was able to save that show because it didn't work for me. But, Jonah and Zach said, it worked for some people, just not for us.
No, that's an excellent point too, because I've heard that argument too, where it's like, well, this is what they did in the comics. So, but one medium doesn't always transfer over to another medium. Like cartoon and live action, the way that you play with those are completely different. One works for one works for the other. Sometimes you have crossover, but for the most part, not everything works for everything. So I totally agree with you there, where, yeah, maybe like ripping out the comic book page and yelling at the comic book reader is fun in the comics. But and maybe it worked for some people, but for me, it didn't really work when you did that in a show and she broke out of Disney Plus.
So contrary to everyone else here, I actually enjoyed the show a lot. I think what it tried to do, it missed. It missed like the mark. I think it would have been better served as a sitcom more than like this action hybrid, the fourth wall breaking thing. It came across too contrary, I guess you could say. Like it tried too hard to offend people, I feel like it really did with the fourth wall thing, going to see Kevin Feige and he's a robot and all this other stuff. That last episode did lose me because it tried to do the big bad fight and then it just went off the rails. Like I thought it was really good up until the last episode because it was just funny to me. I enjoy watching people. Like I saw all of the comments online. People were getting really upset about it, and it actually made me like the show more because it was just fun. It was lighthearted until the end, where it just kind of jumped the shark. And once I saw that it cost $225 million, I knew it was like that's insane. It didn't garner enough attention, positive attention, to garner a season 2. And I was really offended at the end, the whole Scar scene with the oh man. Planet Hulk, War Hulk is probably 2 of my favorite comic book arcs, period. And when I saw that, I was beyond infuriated. It didn't ruin everything for me, but it almost did. Like that Scar thing just threw me for a loop. That's unforgivable.
When you say that Scar thing, are you just specifically talking about his haircut?
No, not even
Fire
how he
his
looked.
barber.
Just showing up at I think they were like a barbecue or something. And just shows up.
It looked like Fast and Furious.
Yes,
it literally looked like Fast and Furious.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, Zach.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, that was very lackluster. Of just here's Scar. You haven't seen him yet, but he's just coming to eat for dinner.
I was looking forward to season 2 if they decided to correct some of the mistakes that they made in the first season. I'm always open to things continuing if they're going to go in a different direction. But yeah, overall, the show for me just didn't work, mostly because of everything everyone else mentioned. Even though the first episode I thought was great. I had a great time with the first episode.
I agree with that.
Good
The first 3 episodes I really liked.
Yeah, I thought it was a good introduction to Tatiana Maslany as She-Hulk. And even like Bruce Banner, who a lot of people were saying, oh, you nerfed him for the sake of She-Hulk. I didn't see that at all. I don't know where people got that, but yeah. So, but the rest of the show, the issue with it was that it just kind of muddled around in things that, frankly, I did not care about. She-Hulk's a really dope character if you pursue the legal drama aspect of her, and even some of the stuff that they did do with Daredevil. I thought those episodes are great. I thought the Madison episode was great, and I thought episode was hilarious, actually. And the first episode, between that with the way that they treated the Wrecking Crew, where they were just kind of some bumbling idiots, and the Wrecking Crew aren't necessarily the smartest people in the world, but they're also not that type of dumb. Like there's different types of, there's a variation of dumb. But they weren't that type of dumb. They just kind of like crapped on them. I was trying not to curse. They just kind of like crapped on them in that aspect. So overall, in the show, the biggest sin of the show was kind of what Jonah mentioned, was that the legal cases weren't really great legal cases. If you want a legal show, and even if you do bring in Daredevil, please bring them in, like write something really smart and intelligent. We have these conversations about like Avengers insurance and what happens if the Hulk throws your car through somebody's window to protect you. Like there's so many different things. The Sokovia course, there's so many different legal things to talk about, but we're talking about fashion and suits, and someone stole this suit, and then the Abomination thing just kind of started off funny, but just kind of got ridiculous as it went on. And that last episode, I am back and forth on, because for me, it's like, oh, this is hilarious and genius, but in context of the rest of the show, it's kind of like, what is this? Like, what are we doing? So, yeah, I thought the show did a lot of things well, including the fourth wall breaks. But also, and last thing, the Titania thing, the fashion model, like
I forgot all about her.
Yeah, and she's dope. She was just terribly misused in this show. So
no, I think jumping off of what you said and what Jonah said, I think the minute the show kind of lost itself was when, do you guys remember when the writers came out, or one of the writers came out, and they said something along the lines of, we don't know legal talk, so we decided to not focus on the legal parts and we just focused on the comedy.
They said, they're like, to be honest, guys, they're like, we frankly don't know how to write courtroom scenes. So they're like, we don't know how to write courtroom scenes, so we're just going to make it funny.
Yeah, we don't know how to write courtroom scenes, and I was like,
watch Law and Order, like
Right.
Right.
Or
Watch Daredevil season 1.
Marvel.
Ted 2 had a good courtroom scene, surprisingly better than She-Hulk.
That's a really good point. Dead 2 did have surprisingly good court scenes.
Or Marvel hire people who know how to do, like the person who wrote the comic that the show's based off. His name is Dan Slott. He used to be a lawyer, so do that.
Pay
It was
respect
right
to where
there.
they came from.
Right.
What I will further ask is, because I did like Tatiana Maslany in the show. I thought
Agreed.
with all the problems of the show, she was not one of them. She was great. And I would like to see her continue in some way, whether that's a season 2, which it doesn't look like it's going to be, or whether that's, you do a Hulk movie, but you get around the solo Hulk movie rights by doing a She-Hulk and Hulk movie and having them team up in a movie. Maybe you could do something like that to get around the Universal stuff going on. What do you guys think? I'll start with you, Terrence. Do you want to see this character continue in the MCU, or would you rather see her disappear like Betty did from the Incredible Hulk for so many years? I mean, we're about to see her again, but she was gone.
I mean, I assume she's gonna show up whenever they do a massive team up. Like she'll just randomly show up, but I don't honestly want to see. I mean, they can fit her in there, but just to fit her in just for the sake of getting more CGI in the movie is not my cup of tea.
Personally, no. I mean, if they can get a great writer to rewrite her and maybe do something better in the future, then sure. I mean, because they're always rebooting everything, so people are can't act like this is the only time we're going to see She-Hulk. We might see her again, and if Tatiana Maslany comes back and they do something better, then yeah. But as of right now, nah, I'm not really looking forward to a season 2.
Yeah, I'd love to see her again. I have the same thoughts about a movie I dislike entirely, which is Eternals. I can't stand that movie, but all those characters to me were good, well-developed characters. And if you put them in a better situation, in a better movie, I think that it will work well. I think the same thing about Tatiana Maslany. Plus, you don't get rid of talent. Like, she's actually really dope. So I think that, yeah, you keep her, you put her in a different position. You don't shoehorn her into like a Hulk story, like T said. But yeah, I think that she, especially like with Daredevil coming, you kind of want 2 lawyers, right? To go up against each other.
That's a good point.
So I think that could work.
All right, Jonah. We are interested in seeing this character continue. They are not. Where do you fall? Break the tie.
So no character, no matter how good or bad they are, is worth casting off to the side if the actor or actress playing them is good. No character is worth kicking off to the curb. We get some good directing, we get some good writing, and I will never be against the return of a character. Now, if the actor playing the character is hot garbage, and it's very clear that that's not adding to the character and not giving it life and not putting their own spin on it, then get him out of there. Let's start over. But Tatiana Maslany is a very, very talented actress, and the portrayal of She-Hulk is not necessarily the problem. That's why so many people have no problem crapping on actors and actresses, but it's like that's the script they got, and they did what they had to with what they received. So let's get some good writing, let's get some good direction, and I'm totally open to the future, but only with that caveat. So to break the tie, I would say yes.
So She-Hulk season 2 not moving forward. Do we buy or sell the cancellation of season 2? I'm gonna have to buy it. Yep. Looks like Michael's on the fence.
A little bit,
I do agree with you. There's potential to make it better.
But
they had their first impression, and I think she nailed it. They blew it.
Yeah.
They did it with Andrew Garfield Spider-Man.
I was just thinking when Jonah was talking about a good actor in a bad situation, I was thinking exactly of Andrew Garfield.
He was a great Spider-Man.
Justice for my boy Andrew, man.
Speaking of Andrew Garfield.
Ooh, yeah, that's right.
Great segue.
There, that was smooth.
Sony. Just when I think I can give Sony a little bit more credit, just when I think they might be doing better as a movie studio, they go and do something like this. Allegedly, because this isn't coming from Sony. This is coming from Jeff Snyder, who is a pretty reliable scooper. He's gotten tons of stuff right, but he's not 100%. Anyways, here's what this has to say about the latest drama surrounding Madam Web. Apparently, Madam Web was actually going to be set in the 90s and in the Amazing Spider-Man universe. Though Snyder doesn't know if Andrew Garfield was going to appear, he was originally supposed to be the continuity Spider-Man, and possibly the SSU's. I hate that, by the way. The SSU's. I never call it that. The SSU's webhead going forward until the decision was made to pivot to Tom Holland's take on the hero. This does make a lot more sense, especially if Sony is hoping for sequels and spin-offs, but it means that the 90s setting no longer fits. Snyder has heard that the majority of the movie's reshoots were needed to remove every 90s reference from the movie in order for the timeline to match up. This is very much just a rumor for now, but if accurate, we may be able to tell while watching the film.
Oh boy.
Okay, so here's the thing. This is coming from Jeff Snyder. It's not coming from Sony, but I'll tell you why I believe this is because of the Morbius trailers. Do you guys remember those Morbius trailers?
How can I forget?
They had Spider-Man painted on the wall. It was Tobey's Spider-Man, but they had the Oscorp towers from the Amazing Spider-Man. We didn't know what was going on at the time. No Way Home was coming out. We're like, oh, the universe is going to like merge and get all messed up together. Yeah, nothing came of that. They baited us. They put all that in the trailer. None of it was in the movie. So when you look at a story like this, I totally believe that they could be going back and removing everything related to Spider-Man. But the fact that they could mess up like this,
that's embarrassing.
I mean, this is incompetence. This is just ridiculous. And I also kind of believe this as well because there was rumors going around a little while ago after No Way Home came out that Andrew Garfield did have meetings with Sony about continuing his Spider-Man, but apparently those meetings fell apart and he decided not to sign on with them. So if they were planning that and they said it in the 90s, wow, those negotiations might have been going on, I don't know. And then all of a sudden they were like, okay, Andrew's out. Let's switch to Tom Holland. Technically, we own him anyways, so let's just pull him from the MCU and let's just put him in here. Oh, wait, he can't be in the 90s? That doesn't make sense. I'll throw it to you first, Ken. Do you believe this story, first of all? Do you believe that Sony could be this incompetent is the word that comes to me? And, yeah, who do you think should be the Spider-Man in the Sony universe?
Well, I'll start with your last question first. No one. I don't think anyone should be subjected to this, especially someone who has had an established career as Spider-Man. If you want to do this, the smoothest way to do it is just introduce somebody new. You're not making any more Andrew Garfield Spider-Man that we know of, or I was about to call him Tom Brady for some reason, or
that'd be a good choice.
Tobey Maguire tease matchup. So if you're not going to do that, or since you're not going to do that, just introduce somebody new. Because the issue is, and the thing I think Kevin Feige fears the most is like contaminating the Spider-Man that he built up essentially with the Sonyverse situation and trying to juggle, if this happens over here, then if we want to use him, we have to change this over here. And I care much more about the MCU than the SSU. When did that happen?
I've never even heard that.
Yep, it's the Sony Spider-Man universe, I think, is what it's supposed to.
They just made that up. Yes.
That's cringe. That's cringe.
Yeah. So and as far as like, can they be that incompetent? I believe so. Like, I don't have any reason to not believe that, especially with the way that they fumbled Amazing Spider-Man 2. Amazing Spider-Man 1 was really good. Amazing Spider-Man 2 just. So, However, I do have to give them credit for, the Miles movies. Like, those are amazing, right? Those are really well received and the best thing that they've produced thus far in any kind of Spider-Man thing. But they did it without trying to shoehorn in some other universe. They literally made their own multiverse within their own company that has nothing to do with their other multiverse, and that one is working much better. Yeah, they did that by making everything new. So don't cross-contaminate, especially since none of this stuff is well received. None of it. Well, Venom, some people really like Venom, but in terms of like Morbius, and I'm sure Kraven the Hunter is going to do gangbusters at the theater. So none of it, it seems to be working out because you keep turning your villains into anti-heroes. Anyway, that's a whole nother rant.
I wonder if part of what you're saying, like with the Across the Spider-Verse movies and stuff like that, I wonder if that is because they just let Phil Lord and what is it?
Chris Miller?
Lord and Miller?
Christopher Miller, yeah.
Yeah, they let Lord and Miller just do their thing. They weren't really paying much attention because Into the Spider-Verse was an underdog. Like, no, I remember when that was coming out, I was just kind of like, I guess I'll see it. Like, no one was really excited for it. No one was really talking about it. So I wonder if Sony was just
excited.
like, let them do it over there. What was that, Ken?
I was excited. It was
You were
Miles
excited?
Morales. Anything Miles Morales, I'm there for it.
Miles Morales deserved his own movie a long time ago.
Yeah.
Maybe not nobody was excited, but the buzz certainly wasn't around like it was for Across the Spider-Verse. Like, it was very much just an underdog little movie coming out. So I wonder if Sony just kind of like let that be its thing, and that's why it turned out so well, because you had Lord and Miller. Whereas with the live action Spider-Man stuff, Sony has always meddled. They've always gotten their little hands in there, whether it's Spider-Man 3, the Amazing Spider-Man films, and now you've got these Spider-Man less films coming out. They always mess with their live action content.
Yeah.
I wholeheartedly believe this story because Sony is incompetent. They have ruined so many good things. I'm still upset that after No Way Home, I'm not getting the Kraven's Last Hunt because they're making a solo Kraven movie, which negates what a great story that could have been. After No Way Home, perfect setup for Spider-Man to be by himself and get hunted down by Kraven all over New York City.
Yeah,
I'm really upset about that. It was like a home run that you just, somebody just threw you right down the middle of fastball and you blew it. And of course, Morbius, Carnage, like how they fumble Carnage. Sony has just shown me that they are completely incompetent. Madam Web, like Kenny was saying about the anti-hero thing, like I don't understand why they're trying to turn, like how you're turning villains into anti-heroes, and then in the post-credit scene you make them a villain again by the Vulture showing up at the end of Morbius to like somehow be upset at Spider-Man who didn't show up anywhere else in the movie. They're just showing they don't know what they're doing with these properties. I don't know Madam Web. I'm not excited about this movie at all. I don't think Dakota Johnson is a great actress in any stretch of the imagination. This movie is going to do terrible. I'm going to see it just so I can review bomb it after I've seen it. I won't go I won't dunk on it just yet because I haven't seen it, but I know it's not going to be good. It just doesn't look good. I'll be if I'm surprised, I'll say that, but yeah, no, Sony is they've proven their incompetence.
Yeah,
especially after Venom 2.
What do you think, Jonah? Is this salvageable? And will this be what you do on Valentine's Day with your wife? Are you going to be going to see Madam Web?
I would rather watch 50 Shades of Grey with Dakota Johnson in it 110 times. All right, so I had to put the sign on for this one. So whoever let the Sony executives cook need to bar them from the kitchen for life. Please take away the steering wheel, kick them all out, let them go somewhere else. I heard that Paramount is hiring, send them out. Bye. Never again. No more. Because as everyone else has said, they have proven that they just keep. It's like that meme where like he's riding a bike and he sticks a stick under the front wheel and then flips himself over and starts crying. That's literally Sony. They're just continuously just stabbing themselves in the back over and over and over again. And like you said, Spider-Verse, they can't take credit for. That is its own thing. And when it comes to Madam Web and 50 Shades of Spider-Man, I am not interested in that whatsoever. I do not care. Madam Web, I saw in the animated show, and I was like, that's a cool character. That's it. We do not need a movie about her. We do not need, to try to make all these interconnected, SSU movies, a thing. At first, when the Venom movies came out, I was like, Andrew Garfield would be the perfect Spider-Man for this universe because he's a little bit darker. He's a little bit edgier. And honestly, I wanted to see Miles Morales in live action with Andrew Garfield because it makes perfect sense. He's an older Spider-Man, a lot more grizzled, kind of like Insomniac's Peter Parker, where he kind of can be more of a mentor. And that's the perfect universe to bring up a young Miles Morales into. And once again, Sony's like, wow, look at all these great plot lines and storylines we could explore. No, let's just make Tom Hardy and Venom like this odd couple. And they continued on with that with Morbius, and they're doing that again with Kraven. Yeah. And there's so many great ideas out there, and they just fumble the bag every single time. So I very strongly believe they should not be allowed to make creative decisions going forward. That's it.
All right, yeah.
Sign off.
I absolutely 100% believe this story. Sony has just been. I mean, you know what? After what Jonah just said with that rant, what else is there basically to say now? I mean, the Venom movies. You know, as I've told you, Zach, before, I enjoy them just for the sake of it's something that my mom really likes. Morbius was the movie that literally that caused me to become a filmmaker to make better movies. You know. But yeah, God, like I mean, and the Madam, and even, like I said, man, when I told you before, even the trailer for Madam Web, it just looks like an ugly movie. Like it just looks like the cinematography just looks ugly. Like it looks like 2001 ABC Family cinematography. It looks awful. I like Dakota Johnson, but I do not think she was the right casting for this. It just seems like Sony is just trying to see what else they can bring. They just go like, look, we own all these properties, we might as well do something with them, but they don't care about the quality of it. They're just doing it just to get their money, you know, like Mr. Potato Head, money, money, money. That's exactly what they're doing.
Yeah,
that's exactly what Sony's doing. And you know, as Jonah said, Spider-Verse, they can't take credit for that because you know, Lord and Miller, they're geniuses, and I think what they've done is great. But yeah, Sony is Sony's dead. I'll just say that.
It'll be the biggest plot twist of 2024 if this movie turns out good.
If it does,
I will eat a sock on live stream if that movie is good.
I will burn all my Blu-rays if that movie's good.
All right, whoa.
That's a lot. You don't have to don't put yourself through that. Can I also say that I just don't like the idea of introducing at least 5 different Spider people in this movie before you even get to Peter Parker. Now I know it's a prequel, and I think most of that stuff is like premonitions about the future, but it's just like you have 3 Spider Women, the other Spider villain guy who has basically a Spider-Man suit, who was with Dakota Johnson's mother in the Amazon while she was researching spiders.
Oh God!
She died and disappeared. So you have like 5
great
Spider
dialogue
before you even get to Peter Parker. It's like I don't think that's the way you want to sequence that. But yeah, that's just another.
Adam Scott's in it. Yeah,
he's good. I like him.
He's all right. He's not
Apparently
bad.
He's Uncle Ben.
I'll say one good thing. That's it.
Step Brothers. Come on, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the performers in this, they all look like good people, like all good performers. Like I don't think there's anything wrong. It's just Sony and their movies. I don't know what they do to them, but they just butcher them in post production usually, and just
Madam Web seems like Sony's attempt at doing a Birds of Prey movie.
That is an excellent comparison.
How much do you want to bet that one of those spiders that they were researching in the Amazon turns out to be one of them that became radioactive and bit Peter Parker?
Oh, 100%.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, of course.
That's got to be a setup.
Yeah,
that's
they wouldn't. They would not drop that awful line if it didn't mean anything.
Let's go to buy or sell. Do we buy or sell that this story is real? Is real?
Oh yeah. I messed up.
For sure.
It feels wrong giving a thumbs up.
Look at Ken. He's got extra going on there.
Whoa.
I don't know what that is.
Ken goes above and beyond, man.
That's cool.
If Siskel and Ebert were alive, they'd give thumbs up too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thumbs up too. Yeah. No. Now, do we buy or sell the movie?
Definitely. Yeah. I'll be really surprised if that movie is like watchable beyond me laughing at it the entire time.
Hopefully, we're all smiling. We have our mind blown, thumbnails when this movie comes out after we see it. I'm hoping that it's great. Like, I don't want it to be terrible, but I'm thinking it's going to be terrible. And moving on to our next topic. And this one is kind of a little bit different because we don't have any story to go along with it. There's no quote. It was just something that I was kind of thinking about the other day.
Thank you, Zach.
Especially with everything that's going on right now with the Mandalorian movie that was announced, but there was a Rey movie that was announced first that was supposed to be the next Star Wars movie we see in theaters, but now they're saying this is the Mandalorian movie. That's not going to be the next one in theaters. Star Wars it feels like it's still in its messy, pot of a time right now.
They're really struggling.
Yeah, and I was kind of just like lamenting back to the days of Star Wars when you saw the trailer was coming out or you heard that a new one was coming out. There was this buzz, there was this excitement. This franchise used to be the biggest thing in the world. It used to be set apart from all the other franchises. Now you hear Star Wars is coming out, it just feels like another average blockbuster movie's coming out.
Yeah,
And
it hurts.
Yeah, it hurts. It's real disappointing. So obviously we're not movie execs. We don't work in Hollywood, so these aren't going to be the right answers. But I just wanted to go around and get your guys' opinions. What can they do to make Star Wars great again? What can they do to get us excited again? And maybe you guys are already still there. Maybe you are still at that excitement that you were back in, I don't know, when I guess Force Awakens was coming out is a good example. But we'll start with you. We'll start with you, Michael.
No, sorry about that. No, we're still good. You guys can still see me, right?
Yeah, I can still see you.
Yeah, no worries. Just my light turned off. Anyways, no, look, I mean, just like probably most of us, I was a huge Star Wars fan as a kid. I remember when my mom bought me the entire original trilogy on VHS. I loved it, and it was always something I loved. And Force Awakens, you know, it's funny. I just recently rewatched like the new trilogy. I actually like Force Awakens a lot. I don't think it's a great movie, but I really like it. Like, it was good to bring these characters back and pass the torch. And then Rian Johnson came along, and well, you know, we kind of know what happened after that. And then Rise of Skywalker. Well, you know, I think what they can do to make Star Wars great again, I don't know. I mean, me being the nostalgia guy would always just want to say bring back the original cast, but they did that and they failed. So I don't really know how you can recover for that. It's not like they can just remake a movie and just say, okay, this movie's actually a sequel to Return of the Jedi, so the other movies that happened before that happened in between didn't happen. So it just kind of makes you go, well, I just don't understand that. Like, so it's kind of hard for me to say how they can make Star Wars great again. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It's just you see where I'm kind of going with this, man. Like, I'm actually kind of struggling to see how they could really make Star Wars great because
let's phrase it this way. What is something they would do? What's something that they would announce they're doing that would get your blood pumping? That would just get you like, oh my gosh, for Star Wars.
My personal opinion, I don't think this will ever happen, but I've always wanted to see a movie about Luke Skywalker, like in between the events of Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens, like before, like he got to that mountain and kind of just remained there by himself. I don't know. That seems like almost kind of like a character study drama. Like, we find out. I mean, obviously we found out why Luke kind of secluded himself on that island, but I think it would actually be really interesting to see, you know, all the details of really how he got to that point, because of all the half-assed dialogue that they gave us in Last Jedi just didn't really work. So I would like to see like more of Luke's story continue after Return of the Jedi, but obviously since, you know, Mark Hamill basically looks like Yoda now, I don't think that'll happen. I love you, Mark.
Catching strays.
Yeah, Mark Hamill's great. Terrence, how about you? How do you feel about Star Wars right now? Is it something that you get excited for still, or has the excitement dropped for you? And what can bring it back for you?
Okay, I'm going to preface this. I don't want to offend anybody here. I feel like we have some real Star Wars enthusiasts within this group. I am not one of those. I'm probably the oldest person here. I want to say the original Star Wars came out the year before I was born. Okay. I actually went and saw the Empire or Return of the Jedi in the theater. I was way too young to be there. But that's awesome. I don't remember actually. I know that my parents took me to the theater to see that. But I rewatched the movies after the prequel trilogy, after the Attack of the Clones attacked my eyeballs. That was probably one of the worst Star Wars movies until I saw Rise of Skywalker. Rogue One. Right. Rogue One is my favorite Star Wars movie. Why? Because it moved away from Luke Skywalker, who is perhaps the worst character other than Anakin, other than Hayden Christensen, you know, reading sonnets to you know, Padme on some random planet where they're just talking about romance for like 2 hours of my life that I can't get back. It's just not. They're not good movies. Like, they're not great. Han Solo, Force Awakens was great because it was fun. Like that movie brought the fun back to Star Wars. And then apparently there was a group of people who didn't like it. And they said it was too similar to the original trilogy. Well, why did you watch Force Awakens? Because of the original trilogy. Like you loved the original trilogy. You brought back Han Solo only for Harrison Ford to get his swan song that he wanted a long time ago. And they just ruined. I thought Last Jedi was actually a good movie. I just felt like that should have been the end of the trilogy. That movie, if there would have been a movie before that, the middle, like that would have been a great way to send it off. They didn't do that. I really left Last Jedi wondering where they were going to go next, because it was really like Rian Johnson put their backs against the wall with that movie. How he ended it, it was just really nowhere you can go.
Yeah.
And they went so left with Rise of Skywalker. I was glad they brought back Lando Calrissian, one of my favorite Star Wars characters, of course, because Billy D. Williams is awesome. But like the way they can bring it back is just start new. Go Knights of the Old Republic. Is one of the greatest games. I love that game. The second one, not so much, but like go there. Like take us away from the Skywalker family. Take us away from Darth Vader. There's so much other Star Wars lore out there. There's so many different like other Star Wars material you can make canon. I don't need a Rey movie, although I did like Rey. I enjoyed Rey as a character. I just think that those movies are just terribly written.
Yeah.
I would love to see Finn in another movie. Like he got the shaft. Oscar Isaac got the shaft. Like they listen too much to fans, and at the end of the day, fans don't know. We don't know what we want. Like everybody wants something different. So I enjoyed Force Awakens. There was a grove of people who didn't, so they changed everything. Go somewhere different. I loved Rogue One. I think Rogue One is the most complete Star Wars movie from top to bottom, but it didn't have any Jedi in it, right? It had some Force powers, like I think Donnie Yen's character was like somewhat Force adjacent, but he wasn't a Jedi. But just go somewhere different. Like I think we've exhausted the Skywalker saga. Let's just, the Skywalker saga rose with Rise of Skywalker. Let's just let it fall. Like start anew, create new characters so kids can actually enjoy it from the time they're a child up until they become adults. Because if they watch these movies, like if my kids watch the Star Wars movies, they're not going to enjoy them. Like I just know that.
Wow. All right. Fascinating. Appreciate that, man. Ken, how about you? How's Star Wars working for you? Can it get better, or is it at its height?
So it's a little bit of a mixed bag for me, from the perspective that I have two different minds about it. Currently, the shows are announced, like Ahsoka season 2 was essentially announced, So am I excited for that? Yeah, I would love to see it. Like I really did enjoy the Ahsoka show. It's not a perfect show. I spent more time complaining about a show that I liked than actually praising it, which is weird. It's because Star Wars fans are crazy, myself included. And the Mandalorian Grogu movie. I just hope that they change that title. Although I'm happy, I'd be happy to see it. But for me, it reminds me of a time when I was younger, when I made mac and cheese for some friends, and I accidentally put sugar in it instead of the salt that needed to be in there. And I spent the entire rest of the time trying to fix it. And I kept adding stuff to it and kept trying to make it better. And nothing was working because I kept trying to go back to what I already had instead of trying to make something new. And that's essentially what the whole Star Wars thing is like to me currently. The best thing that they have done is Star Wars Visions, which they did not do themselves. They outsourced and let other people cook. And Star Wars Visions, all of those shorts. I don't like all of them. I like most of them, but even the ones I don't like, I can see other people liking. So I think that the solve for this situation is similar to what T said and similar to what Michael said, I believe, which is to send it either all the way back in the past to Knights of the Old Republic or go all the way to the future, 200, 300 years in the future. Let's not talk about the Skywalker saga at all. Let's just focus on making brand new characters within this lore and introducing new ideas. That's the way to make it fresh. Because even with Michael, even your idea, which is a good idea in and of itself, I have a little bit of a problem with, only because we're kind of going back into that old well of going between the crevices of the stories and trying to pull something out, which I just don't think has worked very well thus far. Now, I'm not telling you that your idea is bad. Please don't take it that way. Luke is, he's an OG. But I really do feel like if you even have a cheat code, if you want to be a marketing genius and say, hey, we have Grogu, who's a baby right now. We could literally say, hey, you guys want to hear what Grogu's like in 200 years when everybody else has gone and he's the main character now? Sure, let's find out how that is. And then we don't have to tie it to everything else. Please don't bring Palpatine back somehow to fight against Grogu, because he was Grogu's secret apprentice who we wanted to. Anyway, so please, God, don't take this idea. But yeah, so I think that the way to solve it is to literally hit the reset button and make everything brand new. The reason why Star Wars is so great is because of the lore. It's because of the philosophy behind it. It's because of the cool lightsabers and the robes and the ships and the cinematography and sound design. I agree with T in a lot of ways that most of these movies aren't good, but they are enjoyable because of the everything else around it. I'm going to say something very controversial. Michael B. Jordan, in my opinion, is not a great actor. He's good in some things and not great in other things. And the reason why I bring that up is because Killmonger was so well designed that some of the terrible acting decisions that Michael B. Jordan made in that movie, Iraq, like no one says Iraq like that, but some of the terrible decisions that he made, acting decisions, were kind of masked over by the really cool design of Killmonger. So in that same way, Star Wars, because of their really cool design, kind of mask a lot of the crap. Star Wars Episode 2 is one of the worst, not Star Wars movies, is one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my entire life. And I'll end on that because I know I've been going for a little bit. But that movie, I skip it on the rewatch of Star Wars. It's that bad, except for Camino scenes. Camino was actually pretty cool. But other than that, it's, that's it. That's my soapbox. Set it into the future or the past. Do something different. Even agents, but yeah.
I think a lot of people would agree with that too. I think that's a want from a lot of fans. But Jonah, there's a reason I kept you for last, man.
Hey man, how's it going? What's up?
You're probably the biggest Star Wars fanatic that I know in life. So
I appreciate that.
What do you think, man? Is Star Wars great, or does it need to be great again?
All right. So Zach said it best. Lifelong Star Wars fan. When I was a kid, I learned how to read on the Star Wars books. I studied the lore. I studied all 7 to 8 forms of lightsaber combat, that kind of thing. I'm a sweat. I'm a bit like, there's no two ways about it. How did Star Wars manage to make it 30 years and only have 2 trilogies with some things in the middle? They had books. They had, a couple of shows. We're not going to talk about the holiday special, but they had games, all these little things that were complements, but only 2 trilogies. How did they make it that far? Because of the legacy, because of the world building, because George Lucas, as a completely flawed individual, had a vision. He wanted to tell a story. There's a reason why Episode 4 drops you in the middle of a story and doesn't start by telling you a bunch of exposition. They let you figure it out as it goes along with these pre-established characters because he knew what he wanted to tell. And as flawed as the prequels are, again, as a younger guy myself, I love the prequels, so leave it at that. But they were at least of one coherent mind. George wanted to tell a story through his flaws, all that kind of stuff. He had a passion for what he did, and it showed. And that's why Star Wars fans like me fell in love with Star Wars. Like you said, Ken, there are not great movies on their own. They're not winning any Oscars except for maybe Best Picture or like Best Special Effects or something like that. But they are just beyond that. And like you said, Zach, at the very beginning, it's larger than life. It's something that you feel a connection to, like it's family. And that's why when I went into The Force Awakens, I was so excited. I didn't walk in going, I'm going to hate this because it's new. Because in my mind, Disney has all the money in the world. My simple mind back then was Disney equals money. Money equals better Star Wars. Let's get this party started. And I walked out of The Force Awakens going, that was awesome. I can't wait to see what they do with Finn. I can't wait to see how they explain how Rey all of a sudden is super powerful. I didn't go, Rey's powerful, that means she's bad. I was like, let's find out why she's so powerful. And they fumbled the bag 2 times in a row with both The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker. Rian Johnson is a great filmmaker. That is a great Rian Johnson movie. It is not a good Star Wars movie because they threw away every bit of lore, every bit of excitement that fans like me had to, I wanted to see further explored. Why is all of this? Well, Disney did not have a plan. And they admitted it multiple times. I've never seen a studio actually admit that they were making it up as they went. You think George Lucas was making it up as he went? Yeah, he made little things happen there, here and there. Like Mace Windu wasn't supposed to have a purple lightsaber. But Samuel Jackson was like, I don't want green. I don't want blue. I want purple. I want to stand out in the crowd. And Lucas was like, okay, you know what? I'll make an adjustment. It's little things like that. Yeah, he can do that because he's the creator. But Lucas knew what he wanted to tell. Disney's like, hey, we got the IP. Hey, money, man. Let's get this. Let's get this going. Come on. And that's all they saw was dollar signs. And it shows because they introduced these awesome characters who have no connections to these pre-established characters. And what did they do? They kept going back into the well of nostalgia. And they're like, you remember these guys? I'm totally fine with bringing back legacy characters, but they didn't show respect to any of them. Luke, Han Solo, Princess Leia, all of these characters, they couldn't bear having Han and Leia be in a great relationship. Like they couldn't even give them that. They ended episode 6 happy and together. And then in The Force Awakens, they're somehow beefing over something that happened off screen, and so they take one of the best original trilogy relationships and split them apart because reasons. And I feel like at this point, the damage has been done. I have been very clear on my channel where I stand with, I am not a anti-Rey fan. I'm not an anti-insert, whatever it is. I am a anti-laziness fan. I hate being baited for nostalgia because it works for people like me. I watched Ahsoka because I loved the Clone Wars, not because I thought the show was great. And so that's what they do. They're so good at bringing back legacy characters to get fans like me to go, here's my money, do it again. Here's my money, do it again. And they're going to keep doing that until the money runs out. No, the reason why they kind of shut things down recently is because they didn't know what to do going forward because the money started to run out. And so they shut down all plans of the future next trilogy. And they basically went on a hiatus for their movies. Why? Because they realized they were scrambling. So I think going forward, I agree with everybody else that we need to go somewhere else, Knights of the Old Republic. But even when they announced 3 different movies in the future, they're all taking place in such disjointed time areas that it's like, what's the plan with that? Are they just going to be standalone? Like, are they, it's like Disney wanted to go, hey, let's have our cake and eat it too. So let's pick 3 different eras and let's hope that one of them sticks with fans. That's what it felt like to me. That wasn't because they had a passion to tell a story. It was because they want to try to get back on their feet with an easy win. And they're trying to figure out what that win is, whether it's Mandalorian and Grogu, whether it's the beginning of the Jedi, or it's the Rey movie. They're just grasping at straws. So going forward, I do think if they're going to bring back legacy characters, they need to do it by having writers and producers and directors who are Star Wars fans. Sam Witwer is a perfect example. He voiced Darth Maul, and he was also in the Starkiller game, Force Unleashed. He is a Star Wars fan through and through, and he's been used as an advisor in the past. And he knows Star Wars, but he also knows filmmaking. And he's a great help to modern day directors who do Star Wars. I just wish that they would call more on Star Wars fans to help them find their way, as opposed to rich executives who have no idea, have never seen a Star Wars movie in their life, which they've admitted to multiple times, going, I think this is what fans want. I think this is Star Wars. So all I ask for is a clear vision going forward. And that's all I need.
Yeah, fair enough, man. Well said. All you guys, well said. I'll say quickly, I think Star Wars is at its best when it's, first of all, given the budget and given the attention, and also is focused on the characters. Andor, I think, is the greatest Star Wars we've had since Force Awakens, I'll say, because I do really like Force Awakens. I do like Force Awakens. I think, personally, for me, I don't know when this became such a, like, not taboo, that's the wrong word, but like, why don't we want episode 10? I don't understand why episode 10 doesn't get brought up, because the episodes, much like Star Wars, that's a part of their brand. Like, people, like, audiences know the Star Wars episodes, and I feel like, I don't know if they're gonna just like change the Rey movie to Star Wars episode 10 or what they're gonna do with that, but I do feel like we need to get another episode in the theaters. And yes, it needs to be planned out. They need to plan it out. They can't just like throw spaghetti at the wall for each director. What do you want to do? Try it out and see if it works. Have a plan, establish characters, because I feel like that's something Star Wars has also forgotten. Is when George Lucas made Star Wars, it was out of passion and it was out of characters that he loved, and he put the focus on the characters in this world. The world of Star Wars is not what made me personally fall in love with Star Wars. It was Luke, Han, and Leia. It was the characters. It was Darth Vader. It was the conflicts. It was the drama. The stuff that surrounded them, the environments, were just the bonus. It's like the icing on the cake of really great characters and stories. And I feel like Star Wars, for a majority of what they're doing, especially on like Disney Plus, I feel like the focus is so much on the cool world and just put them in the cool world. But the characters and the stories just lack so much for me. And further on with that, this is a little bit of like a cop out, but I don't know if Star Wars is ever going to be that great again, because I feel like every empire eventually falls. And Star Wars was the empire of movie franchises for many, like decades. It was for decades the big one. And I just feel like since we've had the prequels, even before episode 7 came out, the MCU was introduced. And this is just one small example from my city. This is not an example globally, but I don't see kids when I go to Walmart wearing Star Wars shirts very often. I don't see Darth Vader. I don't see the Star Wars logo. I see Iron Man. I see Captain America. I see them wearing the Marvel stuff. I see them wearing DC stuff. I very rarely see little young kids wearing Star Wars get up anymore. And I don't know if like we're just like the last generation in the 20s who grew up with Star Wars on VHS and DVD and loved it, and kids, it's missing this generation for the most part. I don't know, but it's definitely not the juggernaut that it once was. I don't know if it ever will be again, but I definitely love everything that you guys said. I think there's a lot of nuggets in there that Lucasfilm could pick from to make Star Wars much better. So
they won't.
For buy or sell, I guess I'll just say, do we think Star Wars will ever reach the heights of what Star Wars once was? And I don't think it will. But it looks like no. It looks like we all
sucks to do that, though. It sucks.
It does.
It hurts.
It does. But hopefully they can. Hopefully they can. Anyway, guys, we talked a lot of stuff today, and we actually ran out of time. We don't have time for our last topic, unfortunately, but I want to thank all of you guys for being here. Thank you guys so much for joining the show. And if you guys watching liked anything that these guys had to say, they have a lot more to say on channels of their own. So let's shout them out. Let's tell the people where they can find you. Let's start with you, Terrence. Welcome to the show. You get the first one.
All right. Well, my name is Terrence. I have the Have You Seen That with T YouTube channel. You can find me there. You can find me on Instagram at TTerrenceW129. I got to streamline all of my socials to kind of fit that Have You Seen That with T brand. But yeah, that's where you can find me. Definitely find the channel. I'm finishing up my ISS review right now. And yeah, everything's going pretty well.
Do you have any goals for this year that you want to tell people about for your channel?
So right now for my channel, my goal really is to hit 200 subscribers. I've been kind of inching there. The last month has actually gone pretty well for me. I've been getting a lot more traction. I've listened to a lot of advice from you YouTube experts who have the hundreds of fans, cleaning up my thumbnails and stuff like that. So things are actually progressing. I just need to get some more people to actually, people are watching, they're just not subscribing. So we got to work on that.
All right, guys, 200 subscribers. He's in the description. Head on over there. Let's give him some love and support. And speaking of love and support, Kenny Sparks on his way to 1,000. On his way to 1,000 very soon here. Tell people where they can find you, man.
Well, I'm Kenny Sparks. My channel is also of the same name, Kenny Sparks. It's actually at Kenny Sparks, period. It's a long story. But I really want to thank you for having me on today, Zach. My channel is currently just focusing on movie reviews, trailer reactions, some video essays, and the series I'm working on right now called, what is my series called? And a series right now, which is Sparking Conversations, where I just take questions from viewers, subscribers, or non-subscribers, and just answer those questions about everything about my comic book collection to my movie opinions and things of that nature. So yeah, if you have a question, watch one of those videos, leave a question there, and I'll answer it in the future. But like Zach said, I'm currently at 944 subscribers. I'm a little bit, I guess, 56 subscribers away from 1,000. My goal this year is for monetization, both first tier and full monetization. So if I can get there, I would be very happy because it would help pull in some income. You know what I'm saying? Because bills are still prevalent in this society. But yeah, thank you so much for having me on. Can't wait to talk to you guys. Appreciate you.
Awesome, man. I'm so proud of you, man. You're growing so fast because your channel's only what, a year, couple.
I started on May 10th of 2023.
So not even a year yet, man. You're almost at 1,000, dude. Amazing. Bravo to you. Congratulations, dude. You should be so proud. So proud. Michael, how about you?
Yeah. So yeah, you guys can find me on YouTube. It's just my name right here, Michael Entity. You can also follow me on Instagram. It's just Michael_Entity. I'm a big movie guy, as you could see. Love talking about movies. I'm also working on a movie myself. If you want to follow our Instagram page, you can look it up. It's Riley the Movie on Instagram. Very looking forward for you guys to see that. And yeah, let's. I'm at 313 subscribers, so let's see if we can get to 400 in the next month. So let's try to do that.
Absolutely, man. That's awesome. And Jonah.
What's going on, guys? This is Jonah with the Cosmic Broadcast. I am neither a cinephile nor am I a film expert, but one thing that is for sure is that I'm a fan who loves to talk about comic book movies. I love Star Wars, Marvel, DC, all that good stuff. So if you're looking for that kind of content, come stop by my channel. It's all vibes over there. I'm a passionate fan with passionate opinions. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on TikTok, both Cosmic Broadcast. And yeah, feel free to come check out my channel and we'll have a good time.
You're too modest, man. Also, if you want the best editing, go over to Jonah's channel. Dude, I can't get over your editing. The last video that you posted, I was like, this dude came back with a vengeance. Like,
and we just getting started, baby.
Oh, dude, it's amazing. And yeah, you guys don't have to go far to find me. You're right here. So hey, congratulations. Yeah, all these guys down in the description below. Definitely check them out, guys. I want to thank you in each and every one of you for, first of all, being members of the channel and also for being here today and talking all this fun stuff with me. Truly appreciate you guys being here. So thank you very much. And we will see you guys again next time. Take care.